My general overall methodology, and I've already given this a cursory overview, I don't see anything drastically wrong with it. I do notice that some of these wheels are going to need a thorough cleaning. Of course, there's no pull mores. This predates pull mores. This is also I believe, the narrow motor and the small motor, and it is the single yoke, which is held on by the S230 screw. So I'll be taking all that apart, but I'm giving serious consideration to actually pulling all the wheels off so that I can have better access to them to give them a more thorough cleaning, because of course there's no pull mores. Of course, you'll probably remember that according to some documentation I have, Gilbert added this weight, not in the initial trains, but later on, because when they were coming down the grade on a figure 8, they were toppling over. They were coming off the track. So this fairly large weight was added. One of the first things I'm going to be doing to remove the weight, just to get it out of the way while I work on the motor and the reverse unit, is to remove this piece of tape so that I can get to the ribbon cable that goes to the reverse unit. Because there I want to separate the reverse unit, go ahead and rebuild it first as per my standard practice, checking the drum and the fingers, the alignment, holes, everything, and then returning to the motor. But I want to get all that done and get this released and the weight out of the way so that when it comes time to work on the motor, I can take the reverse unit, move it up a little bit, hopefully to right about here, if the black wires from the light allow it, so that I can drop that ribbon cable down through and get easier access to the motor. Now, I've already made note of a couple of articles that I read recently regarding some work to do on these trains. One was how to wash them, and I think I've already responded to that in another video. Of course, there will be no washing of this one whatsoever because it has this custom paint, which is absolutely beautiful. If anything, I'll only be cleaning this, dry cleaning it, which means I'll just use a real soft brush on it to knock off some of the surface dust. However, so that won't be even mentioned. However, I think I am going to mention some things about motor rebuilds that I've seen in print that I do not adhere to, and the only reason I'm going to mention them is to show what I choose to do and have had great success with. All right, let's get started and bring this Burlington back to life as a GP7. I'm going to jump ahead just a little bit and refrain from taking the tape, the weight, and the reverse unit off and gaining access to the motor, because I want to clean this dummy truck in the back. Since this doesn't have slide contacts, doesn't have pull mores, it doesn't even have the double yoke that allows this front truck to maintain better contact on change of grades, I'm going to make sure that these wheels, all 8 of them, are thoroughly cleaned and polished and put back into the best possible condition for current flow. And that's going to start with cleaning the back truck. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull these 2 wheels off. These are the ones that do not have insulators. And while I'm mentioning that, you always want to pay attention as to what side of a truck has the wheels that are insulated. For example, these are insulated. You can see the insulator between the wheel and the axle. So I'm going to pull these 2 off with the hopes of dropping the axle out this way, because I don't want to disturb that insulator if I don't have to. I'm not 100% certain that the insulators I have are going to fit a diesel this old. It'll allow me to gain access to the truck, to the bushings, and to the wheels, because I'm going to do a much more thorough job of polishing these. So the first thing I want to do is pull those wheels. I have the wheel puller positioned over one of the rear wheels. I've got the lift blades up underneath the wheel, and I've got the spindle or spine that comes down and applies the opposing force. Now I'm hoping that these will come off and drop the axle out. So let's go ahead and give it a turn. Might not have been a bad idea to put penetrating oil on these. Usually it's not necessary. It just sounded like that it just released it. So I should be able to continue to turn it. And this is perfect. That wheel's off. This one is still attached to the axle, which is what I prefer because I don't necessarily need to clean where this contacts the axle because it's going to be protected by a plastic, some sort of insulator. And so I don't think there's really need to clean that. Axle seems to be in good condition. So I'm simply going to repeat this for this axle and give me access to doing this. Now, the reason I'm doing it now is that I don't want to do this when the reverse unit, the weight is off and the motor is free to move around and try to be handling all this. I'd rather the wiring to be stabilized, the reverse unit to be in place, protecting all the contact points, as well as protecting the motor while I work back here. As soon as I can get that wheel off, I'll be cleaning all of this. Probably will put a plastic wrapping over the body like this, back this way, across the wires and all the way around the front, just to give me pretty good access to go ahead and wash this rear chassis more thoroughly and make sure its bushings are lubricated. Okay, I have the wheel removing plates underneath the wheel. This is the non-insulated wheel, and I'm hoping it will come off just as easily as the rear one did. Give it a twist. Sometimes these plates right here, these lid plates, bend too much when the wheel seems to be struggling to come off. It kind of concerns me. Keep going. I actually have another wheel puller that I had to purchase when I started pulling off Lionel O-gauge drivers and rebuilding some Lionel locomotives for some colleagues and friends and neighbors. But this one I had purchased strictly to use on American Flyer, and it works on American Flyer, both diesel and their standard drivers. This one comes off. And these are going to receive, of course, all these wheels and axles are going to receive the usual washing first. You know, let's use a blue-green soap and get off what we can before we start using more expensive things. Then they'll be ground down, then they'll be alcohol wiped, and then they'll be ground down. And the same attention will be given to these axles. Boy, these things are caked in something, and I can't tell if it's carbon dust or what, as this truck has got some internal and external rust, and I want to make sure these bushings are taken care of. Okay, off camera, I'm going to wash all this, polish it, and I'll come back and show you the results. As noted, the wheels were pulled and the axles were actually pulled from the insulated wheels. Now I decided to go and do this, excuse me, when I saw that the insulators were in good condition, no dry cracks or any damage to them, and they're the same ones I currently have in stock as used on the more modern later year trains. The axles, therefore, I had full access to those and polished each one of them. So all of these are ready. These were washed, excuse me, alcohol wiped, ground, polished, and then wiped again. So they should provide a maximum contact to the rails, and keep in mind with no slide contacts, these are going to be primary in the circuit as well as the truck. So let's take a look at the truck that I cleaned. It was wiped down, polished. It's actually washed. Now on this one I decided just to go ahead and wash it even without any plastic protection up here, because I was able to hold it like this, wash it, rinse it, and very little water even got on the top of the chassis deck. So I went ahead and washed and polished all the chassis, or the chassis, trying to remove rust spots. I've gone ahead and coated the chassis and the the truck and the bottom of the chassis with CRC 226 for future protection. And I was able to gain pretty easy access down to the interior of the truck to clean it out as well. Now what I'll be doing next is putting in some white lithium grease on these bushings and getting them prepared. I will go ahead and loosely install axles into the insulated wheels by just gently tapping them in just so that they're firmly held. Then I'll put them into the trucks, and then I'll press them using my vice grip. It's a pretty easy process. I'll use a dime to make sure I don't go too far. I'll check each wheel to make sure the end of the axle has even protrusion on both sides. Check it again with a dime, and then give it the wobble test by doing it slowly by hand. And then probably next, I'll simply turn it over inside of a repair cradle and hold a rotary tool brush, a soft brush, up against the wheel and just get it going at a little bit of high speed just to make sure it has smooth operation. With that, then I'll be ready to remove the reverse unit, undo this tape to free up the ribbon cable and the two power cables to go to the front, and then take off the weight to get it out of the way, and then work on the reverse unit because it'll be free then. It won't be so weighted. I won't be so weighted down by this, and then I'll be able to drop the truck by taking the reverse unit, pushing it forward a little bit, and then inserting the ribbon cable down through the opening here and gain full access to the motor for its full disassembly and maintenance. The rear truck disassembly, cleaning, lubrication, and reassembly is complete. No problem reattaching the wheels using a vice grip and a dime to check the gauge. I'd rather check the gauge on the track, but I won't be able to do that, or prefer not to do it until the motor is finished. This has been the truck, and the wheels and axles have been thoroughly cleaned and given a coat of CRC 226. Now the wheels have not been given a coat of CRC 226, but they have been cleaned otherwise. The lateral movement of the truck has been checked, and it does. The stop bar does work. Doesn't need any adjustments, although there's a chance that it could jump that one a little bit. I might take that stop bar and straighten it out just a little bit. The stop bar is right up in there, hits those two tabs, and when it goes in this direction, it has a tendency to jump pretty easily. So I would feel more comfortable if we adjust that. But anyway, we're ready to go now with the motor and reverse unit.